Great. So I'd like to welcome everybody to this webinar hosted by the CUE organization in California as part of the Future Ready and Connected Educator Month. My name is Rob Darrow, your webinar facilitator for today, and I'm going to switch my screen so that you can see our slides, and then you'll be able to hear all the other speakers, and I'll give you some housekeeping tips here in just a minute. So anyway, again, this is part of our Connected Educator Month, our Future Ready Strand webinar. The title of this webinar is, what does it really mean to be future ready? And we've got some dynamic speakers today from a variety of places around California and in Illinois, talking to you today about those. Their names are there on the screen for you. A couple housekeeping things. Those of you who are viewing, you can activate the questions section, or you can go on Twitter and use the hashtag CE15. John and I will be monitoring both. The original announcement also includes this registration. If you want to have access to the slides that we're using here and an email that tells you where the video is once it's completed, just fill that form out and then I'll send that to you. For the webinar viewers, on your screen you've got a little waffle in the upper right-hand corner. If you click on that waffle, you can click on the Q&A, and that's where you can type in your questions for Q&A or comments for that matter as well. So no, that's how it looks. At least that's how it looked earlier today, unless Google changed something in the last 10 hours.
And that happens.
Yeah. Just never know. So again, our focus today is future ready. The structure of our webinar is fairly relaxed. We've got our dynamic speakers who are going to each start with a little background about each one of their schools and school districts and talking a little bit about how they are future ready now. And then we've got three big questions that we're asking them, and then we will entertain questions from anybody else that may have them. John, any updates from you?
No, I'm John. I was up until about 7 months ago. I was an assistant superintendent here in a county in California. We were lucky enough to get selected to go to the White House for the Future Ready, and I like Future Ready as a concept a lot because you know, the United States government is providing us with a direction, but is not overly prescriptive, and I'm seeing some really innovative ideas coming out of it, just from the idea of people saying, hey, what do we do to get ready for the future? So I'm a pretty big Future Ready fan, and I've had a really good time watching these folks put their presentations together, and the kind of things they're going to share are going to be really cool today. So that's it for me right now, Rob.
Great, thanks, John. So just a little quick history for people that may not know this. It was in May 2014, and some of our speakers here attended that event, several people here. Districts and superintendents came together and signed these Future Ready pledges. I happened to get to watch it from a distance. It was kind of cool because it was all done digitally, and people were signing on their iPads all synchronously, and you could watch the map light up all the different school districts around the United States and superintendents that signed that. As a follow-up to that, they have held Future Ready summits around the U.S., and all the links and the resources about the current Future Ready direction are at the end of our slides. So that's a little bit about the history. The Future Ready pledge really talks about these 7 different areas: leading a culture of change, helping schools and families transition, empowering educators, accelerating progress, providing access to quality digital content, providing digital tools to students and families, and helping them to reach higher, and then working together and collaborating to work with other districts to help them in this transition to digital learning. So the question really becomes, what does Future Ready look like now? And so our speakers today are really going to address that. They're going to talk about how do you get into the right mindset, how do you develop a culture of change within your school or district, and what does that journey look like, and where are they in that journey? And they're going to share some specific examples of that as we go through. And once again, you'll have access to all these slides and people's email addresses and all that sort of thing. after we're all finished here. So I'd like to start by introducing Jaime Robles, who's the Executive Director of Human Resources and the former principal at Lindsay High School in Lindsay, California. So Jaime, I'm turning it over to you.
Okay, well, hello everybody. My name is Jaime Robles. I am the Executive Director of Human Resources, but I've spent the last 9 years as a site administrator at Lindsay High School. Lindsay, California is a highly rural, highly agricultural community about halfway between Los Angeles and San Francisco. The community is about 11,000 residents, and we serve approximately 4,200 learners. We are about 91% Latino, 50% language learners, 21% migrant, and somewhere, hopefully in the presentation, we'll talk a little bit about the system that the way we deliver instruction, how that is actually benefits our transient population that comes and goes. We are 100% free and reduced lunch. 41% of our household, one or both parents are not high school graduates. The average education level of our community is the 5th grade. So clearly we have some challenges to overcome in engaging a community and parents that have a limited background in the traditional way of doing school, much less or a much bigger gap in understanding our performance-based education delivery system. So back in 2007, we adopted our strategic design, and it was a group of stakeholders that came together, almost 200 folks, and dreamt what a graduate of our school system would look like. And there were no limits on what we could dream. And as a result of that, we developed some outcomes. And we started trying to implement systems that would allow us to produce this type of graduate, this type of citizen. So along the way, we are one-to-one from our transitional kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. So every kid in our district has a device that they take home over winter break, over summer break. Because of the Race to the Top grant that we secured 3 years ago, we were able to speed up some of the work that we've been doing, and we've been able to hire some of the support staff. So all the things that we're trying to accomplish are highly supportive. We have also taken a good look at our curriculum and have developed what we think is a guaranteed and viable curriculum. The amount of knowledge or content that can realistically be covered in a year. And we do attempt every day to meet every kid at their developmental level. And so personalizing instruction is a major tenet of what we try to do. We do have 24/7 access to our curriculum. And if I can look at a couple of things that really through the years have changed and have really maybe defined who we are, that is that we've created a learner-centered environment. Our kids come every day, they're met at their developmental level, they are given a transparent curriculum that they can navigate, and so they have really become the owners of their learning. And so our teachers, which we now refer to as learning facilitators, are that. They guide, but they are no longer the keepers of all the knowledge. And our kids truly have gotten to a point where they own their own learning, and because of that, we have taken, in the 4 years I was principal, we were very fortunate enough to take our 4-year eligibility, our 4-year university eligibility rates from the low 20s, and 4 years later we are in the upper 40% of our kids that are eligible for 4-year university. 20 percentage points over a 4-year span. We've also taken our school climate index, where we were a school that was, there were concerns about safety and about gang activity and about substance abuse. And we've gone back in 2011 from the 52nd percentile for all schools to the 92nd percentile in school safety and school connectedness. That is for all schools. For similar schools, we've gone from the 64th percentile to the 99th percentile. So when we look at kids owning their learning, we look at kids that have access to technology, there is a transparent, guaranteed, and viable curriculum, and they are safe. They feel safe, and they feel connected to our school. We feel we've come a really, really, really long way. And a couple of tangible things that we've done is we've actually separated the academic grade from a life skills grade. And so we're able to assess kids on what they know about the content, about the curriculum, and we're also able to assess them on how they are progressing to becoming lifelong learners and productive and just really good people and good citizens down the road. And so those are some of the things that we're doing in Lindsay. By March, we will be 100% Wi-Fi in every home in this community. And so we know that that will be a game changer for us. And those are some of the things that are happening in Lindsay to help prepare our kids and to be future ready now.
Jaime, I have a question for the audience. Do the students get the chance to purchase or lease the device upon graduating from high school?
No, that's not something that we've progressed to. So right now that's not an option, but that's actually a great idea. So I'm going to write.
That was from the audience, so I thought I'd pass it along.
And so that's just a little bit of who we are.
Also, I would say I love the fact that you're looking at a wide approach to education. I didn't hear a lot of technology. What I heard a lot of was good planning and working with kids and forming relationships and things like that. I didn't hear tech, which is a really great approach.
Yeah, and we do have a lot of tech, and we do have a platform where the curriculum's accessible 24/7, and we do differentiate PD to make sure that every one of our staff members, whether they're digital natives or digital immigrants, are prepared to meet our kids at their level. But when kids are driving the learning, they tend to hold adults accountable, many cases a lot better than adults hold adults accountable. So if I'm going into a classroom and I'm not getting met at my level, and that LF, that teacher, isn't prepared to meet me at the knowledge and the skill set that I have with technology, they're going to speak up, they're going to say something. And as a result, we've been able to get all staff members, digital immigrants, digital natives alike, to really meet kids with the technology that they are used to, accustomed to, and at the skill set that they're at their level.
And the person that asked that question wanted you to know that they were 2001 graduate of Lindsay High School.
Oh,
so
perfect.
Good job.
And so a lot has changed since 2001. And so most of our graduates that left us prior to our performance, our transition, they come back and they barely recognize the place in terms of structures, systems. A side story, we've had former graduates come back to sub, and I often ask them, what do you think? And they say, everybody's working, everybody's doing what they're supposed to do, this is amazing. And so we're very proud of the progress that we've made over the last 10 years, 8 years. And again, the fundamental component being that when kids own their learning, they drive it, mm-hmm. They hold the adults accountable, and it's a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah, truly, you cannot make people learn. You can make them memorize some stuff, but I'm not sure you can make them learn.
Yeah.
So thanks, Jaime. I'm going to jump in now and we're going to go ahead and share it with Kathy Milton. Kathy, okay. Are you out there?
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Jaime. And hold on a second here. I got to do this just right. Okie dokie. And can you guys see the slides okay for Kathy? Just making sure here.
All good.
Okay, Kathy, you have the conch, as we say in language arts.
Great, thank you. So I'm Kathy Melton. I'm in my 3rd year as the principal at Lowell Elementary School in Wheaton, and my 10th year as a school leader overall. Wheaton is one of the Chicago suburbs. We're about 25 miles west of Chicago, so while we're not tied in particularly to the city, we are fortunate to have a lot of great resources where we are at this point. We have 23 facilities district-wide. We are one of 13 elementary schools, and you'll see we go early childhood through 12th grade, and we have about 13,400 students in our district. My school in particular has 3 sections at each grade level, so we have about just under 400 students. We have a relatively high for our district. We are above the district average for English language learners. World Relief has a center in Wheaton, and so we do have a number of students that are part of refugee families that come here. My school also has an interesting subset of families that are missionary families on furlough, so students coming to us that may have spent the last few years overseas in a public school, a Dutch public school, or in an international school. So that's a unique facet of our school community too. This year we, as a district, we're a little newer to the formal Future Ready journey. And if you go to the slide with how we're future ready now, we talk about our district framework for the learning environment. And so that's something that's been really important to us. And just like John, just like you noted with Jaime, it's definitely not all about technology. It's about the learning that takes place. And sometimes when that learning and pedagogy and change come together, like Michael Fullen likes to tell us, some great things can happen, and technology can accelerate that process. So our Future of Instruction and Technology framework this year, we're really focusing on standards mastery with attention to feedback, meaningful feedback for kids. We're also focusing a lot on collaboration and creation. And when we write school improvement plans, we're not writing school improvement plans just for growth in English and in math, but we're writing school improvement plans that look at the inclusion of the learning environment. So not just how are students achieving in math, but in what ways are students successfully collaborating and creating within math. With that, we're also enhancing student voice and ownership of learning, and that's true, I think, for the adult learning environment, and also true for our learning environment for children, of course. We are definitely spending some time. Some of our facilities are aging facilities, and we are definitely taking some time to do an educational assessment of the learning environment, because we know that as learning needs change, the environment can change in ways to support that. So as a district, we're focusing on that. And then again, creating that learning environment for students and for adults. And if you go to the next slide, please. We as a district are starting to tell our story a little bit more. I think that's an important piece of what we do, and these examples that you see here are within my school. One of my 3rd grade classes is doing a mystery Skype, and so they're getting to experience the power of connecting and collaborating with students beyond our physical walls. And then we also have, in the picture to the right, we have 3rd graders and 5th graders that put together Google Buddies. And so they collaborated previously as reading buddies, and then decided to take that partnership and work together to collaborate in a digital environment. So the example that they're working on there is a collaborative slide presentation where the 5th graders are teaching the 3rd graders how to work the technology piece of it, but more so how they can collaborate and write a project together and share their learning in that way. So there we really like the mentoring piece of that happens along the way. We're not a one-to-one district, so we are also having those conversations about universal access and what does that look like, and for our students that don't have technology outside of school, how are we meeting that need? We've also spent a lot of time working on the infrastructure, which of course is the behind-the-scenes piece that isn't as fancy and flashy and ritzy, but it's so critical to have that infrastructure in place so that as you bring devices online and as students and teachers are taking risks and trying new things, that the system is really in place to support that. So that is where we've started.
That's really good, Kathy. I'm going to scroll back on the picture. Your Future of Instruction and Technology. Again, very much like Jaime, I don't see technology spelled out there, right? It's really about the mindset of student learning and personalization and higher order thinking skills, but I don't see any of those things that say must have X amount of devices to make this happen. And Absolutely. So I think that's another great trend is just this idea of future ready is not buying a bunch of gear, and it's not getting the internet. Future ready is really re-looking at what our students need.
Right, and in our school, that's exactly where we started the conversation, is on the no tech part, on the here's our framework, but in what ways are we already doing these things? In what ways are we already constructing knowledge and allowing for anytime, anywhere learning? So starting the conversation there, I think, was really critical into introducing a successful change process.
Super cool. Okay, Lisa, are you ready to jump in?
I'm ready to jump in.
Okay, Lisa Gonzalez, ladies and gentlemen.
You know, and before I get started, I just want to thank the last two administrators who spoke. You have such amazing things going on in your district. I always put my parent hat on and think, wow, I'd love my kids to be part of an environment like that. So congratulations to you both. So my name is Lisa Gonzalez. I just spent the last 2.5 years as a superintendent in the Portola Valley School District. We like to refer to Portola Valley at times as rural Silicon Valley because you can see the little dot right there on the picture. We're just inland far enough where we really have to think about not only devices but connectivity because we are rural. And now I'm doing legislative work with the Association of California School Administrators. Next slide.
Scrolling.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
So what I want to share here is that we are a small school district. And even in a state like California, what's fascinating is that in the numbers of 2,500 or fewer, about 2/3 of our districts are really that small. So we've got a staff of about 105. We're what's called a basic aid or a community-funded district. And, you know, that brings with it a lot of positive attributes. We have a great deal of money that comes in from the community to support our programs and support technology. But with that comes really high expectations. So for us, it's always been that balance between the two. I have to say that we are a very innovative community, and you'll see another slide in just a minute that I think really speaks to some of the ways that we look and we plan. We're in year 3 of a very strong strategic plan that's seen all sorts of new changes come about in our district over the last 2 years, including world language. So we now have world language K through 8. On that next slide there, you see how we became or how we are future ready. And I broke this into the areas of the gears that you see with the Future Ready initiative and with the work that the other 99 superintendents and I did when we were back in Washington, D.C. almost a year ago. With regards to student learning, we're a Google district. We use a lot of common sense media, and we really try to provide 24/7 access for all of our students. You know, with regards to curriculum and instruction, I think engagement is probably one of the things that we focus on the most. And perhaps at times we have a little more of a challenge with because we have so many of our parents who are used to a traditional approach to learning. And so what we really have to do is we really have to be explaining how classrooms look different now and how students are engaged even when they have a device in front of them. We have moved into the era of really using data to drive our instruction, and we do this in all subjects. So we use Elluminate as a data management system, and what I've been most impressed with is seeing teachers who are even teaching elective classes and what it is that they're using technology for and with their students. With regards to professional learning, we did something very innovative that we haven't seen anywhere else in California yet. What we did for tenured teachers as of 2 years ago was we replaced step and column with a 3-prong approach to really driving professional learning and driving growth in our district. And so teachers set goals for their evaluation every year, and what they do over the course of the year is they each have a blog and they collect evidence of what it is that they're working on with students. So it's the reinforcement of the technology to capture evidence, whether it's pictures, whether it's videos, whether it's data that they're able to talk about. And what they do is they really reflect back upon what they're doing. And I've been most impressed to see that evaluation process grow and thrive over the course of the last couple of years. One of the things that we've tried it was to meet a need that we had. With a prosperous economy also comes a shortage of staff to fill positions. And so when the economy is booming in California, we find fewer people that are applying to be teachers and applying to be a part of our classified staff, which also means that we have very few substitutes available. So we've looked at a flipped model for professional development this year. We started 2 years ago with our teachers, and then we realized that this really had some merit with our classified staff, that they wanted to grow and thrive as well. But oftentimes not having those substitutes made it difficult for them to be able to go to outside trainings. So what we were able to do through an outside vendor is have a menu of 40 or 50 different professional development choices that they can learn from, that all have to do with the types of students that they work with. And so we're able to meet everyone where they are and take them a step further. I think the only other thing that I'll mention here that I think is most important in the work that we're doing to be future ready is really that component of ongoing communication. Because we have a parent community that is very involved, and because the expectation, I think, in all of our communities is that we're letting parents and the greater community know what we're doing, we've utilized a number of different approaches to really make sure that our communication is as strong as it could be. Everything from a district website that's been revamped to an app where people can access everything at any point in time, to even our Twitter feed that allows for parents to see what's going on in classrooms live during the day. I think my last slide there, if you can move to that, is really what I think our school district most focuses on, and someone that I think you'll all recognize. But we talk about being an innovative school community, and we talk about being innovative leaders and teachers, and I think Steve Jobs really said it best: innovation really distinguishes between a leader and a follower, and we can have leaders throughout our organization, and oftentimes we need to be the followers too, but we're all learning from one another to be future ready.
Great, so I think I'm back. You know, it's funny when the internet kicks you off and you have to start over, but that's one of those skills that we all learn to adjust to, and probably one of those skills that we learn if we're a future-ready school. We're going to switch over here to the screen here, so let me share now, and we're going to move into our question and answer time. And so I invite all of the panelists to be ready. Okay, come on, let's do here. Oh, and you're not seeing my screens, are you? Darn it. Anyway, question one. I'm just going to pose the question, and hopefully the slides will catch up to the viewing over there.
Hey, Rob?
I think we need to get to Jennifer.
Oh, I skipped over Jennifer. So sorry.
This is my.
We saved the best for last.
Go for it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer Klosko, rhymes with Costco, and I am the principal at Star Academy, which is part of Natomas Charter School in Sacramento in Northern California. And go ahead and go to the next slide. Our school is really unique. The physical school where I am currently actually has no grass and no windows. We are in a commercial building next to the Big Box Clearance Center, although we are very excited to be building a new school facility that will open in the fall. We're in a big flood zone and there's been no construction allowed. We definitely have that philosophy of we can teach anywhere, even under a tree, and I absolutely love coming to school every day. The school that I'm in, we're actually one big K-12 school with 5 different academies. We're one of the first chartered in California, number 19, and we have 1,600 students across our 5 academies. Each one kind of has a unique flavor. Our performing and fine arts, we have a high school and middle school program. Our original kind of founding academy is Leading Edge, which is our project-based learning middle school. Virtual Learning Academy is our high school program that looks a lot like college, and they receive all their curriculum online. And we have a K-8 homeschool academy. And then my school opened in 2010, and we are TK through 5th grade. And every school is just a little bit different. Go ahead and head to the next slide. It's interesting in looking at all of the different pieces of Future Ready, and I really think a lot of the philosophy of Natomas Charter School, we've kind of been a little bit future ready. since our inception. Originally starting, we have that personalized learning. We want what kids are doing to be real world and authentic. We have always had an emphasis on technology, although technology has changed. Technology is part of what we do. We really do look at kids learning digital citizenship, but really in an authentic way. So all of our teachers are on Twitter. They tweet out from their classrooms. Our teachers use Instagram with students to share out work and different things happening in the classroom. And just a real emphasis on 21st century learning skills for everyone. Curriculum, we are always looking for 100% engagement, and it's definitely not all technology. We use tons of chart paper here as well, but we really want kids to be actively involved in learning, collaborating, creating, talking to each other. Our classrooms are busy and noisy. It'll take you a little while to find the teachers. They're typically working in small groups. We really want to be personalizing the learning for kids because there's always such a big range. We really use data to drive our instruction, focusing not only on what kids know, but what they need to learn. Everyone has strengths and areas for growth, and so we look at data school-wide to be able to provide instruction on what kids need. We also are a Google Apps school. We have our kids get their Google accounts starting in first grade, and so our first graders all the way up through fifth grade, teachers and kids are blogging and sharing out to the real world. We really have an emphasis also in community partnerships. One Voice, our high school program actually just got back from China. They go over and connect there and do some performing there, and then they come also visit here. We really love parents being involved in our school, and so we have focused not just on providing them with information, but really engaging in a conversation. We have really active Facebook groups, not only for our whole school, where parents post things, we have conversations, they can ask questions. Teachers have those, so it's just a lot of different ways. We use a lot of different technology tools to communicate with our families and really engage in a conversation. As Lisa mentioned, professional learning looks a little different in Natomas Charter School too. We also, this year, are switching away from the step column unit model and moving to teacher portfolios and peer panels and really looking at learning and just showing evidence of your own kind of growing plan. So we're really excited about that. We also emphasize 21st century skills for our teachers and staff, and so we really try, when we learn, we want it to look like what we want to see in the classroom. So our staff meetings look like professional development and learning. Finally, our leadership, it's really interesting coming here. I've not always been in a charter school, and I just love that we're always building for the future. That change, it really is the only constant, I think, in education. Here too, there's a real expectation for innovation, and that we are always, failure is just part of the learning. Sometimes the kids in the classroom are the ones who know the most about the technology, and so being comfortable with kind of getting out of the driver's seat and letting them take the lead. We have after school enrichment, and next week we're starting our very first co-led teacher and student taught Lego class, and so we're really excited about giving kids voice as well. So we really do use technology, I think, more to transform the experience for the kids. What can they do with technology that they couldn't do some other way? So it's just really exciting. Go ahead and head to the next slide. This is our kind of uber goal for a whole school, and just really drives what we're doing, that whole idea of kind of being future ready. We're really preparing kids. They need knowledge, skills, and dispositions to be able to be successful in an indeterminate future. The jobs that our first graders are preparing for don't exist yet, so always keeping that in mind. We need them to know how to collaborate. We need them to know how to learn and to drive their own learning, and so we want school to look like that every day. So it's a pretty exciting place to be. All right.
Thanks, Jen. Sorry for cutting you off.
That's all right.
So here's our big questions to open up to our whole panel. The first one is, what was put in place to transform the overall culture and thinking of your school or district in order to be future ready now? So any one of you just jump in.
I think it's really that encouragement to take risks and to try new things has been really important in our place. So whether that's from someone modeling that or from seeing those bright spots of people that are doing well and encouraging them or extending a specific invitation, I just think that collaborative mindset among adults and the culture of risk-taking is really critical to moving forward.
Can you give one example of how you've done that?
One example of how we've done that. Let's see. I think for me, I don't blog on my own as much as I should, but I do some, and we started a collaborative blog in our school that gives multiple people a voice. So I wrote the initial post and then gave the opportunity for any teachers, parents, community members, they can submit a post that we'll include on our blog and share that out. And I think sometimes it's a little nerve-wracking when you're new to publishing your writing for everyone to see. But as we give more people a voice, and that's expanded to where I have classroom teachers that are blogging and students that are blogging, and you really see the power of the authentic audience once they jump in and start sharing and realize that even though it may seem minimal and you may not feel as though you're far along as other people, that when you just, what you share may be important to somebody else.
Great. Others?
Well, I saw a tweet that'll back that up the other day, Kathy, and I think there's a good strand through all of these things that you guys shared as a group was if we want teachers to be different kind of teachers, we have to help them to be different kind of learners. And I think that'll resonate with you, right? I mean, if we only expect our teachers to learn by binders and listening to one person talk, then that may be the only thing they replicate in class. And I think all of you guys have shared models of getting out of that box.
For sure, and part of our professional learning this year is we put teachers into cross-grade level teams based on interest within our building, and within that interest, gave them the ownership to explore whatever aspect of that it might be. So if it's learning about students in poverty, it might be a book study, it might be some research, it might be trying some strategies, but just giving them ownership of that, giving them some time to spend digging in, and then listening to what they've learned along the way.
You know, one of the things that we did in Portola Valley, and I certainly can't take credit for all of the innovative nature with the culture because a lot of it I inherited 2.5 years ago, but I wanted to make sure that our administrators were able to have that vision. And oftentimes what we find is that the teachers and the students are so far ahead of the administrators that we have to bring them along. And through Leading Edge certification, we've been able to train most of our administrators in the district, so at least they're exposed to the tools, they understand the background, they can have the vision, they can facilitate the conversations, and they can test out new technologies in a safer environment before they bring it into their staff. And then, of course, when they bring it to their staff and things go wrong, it does become that really teachable moment, just like we find that teachers have with students, where teachers will try things and, you know, the technology doesn't work and the video won't play and it's not saving what the kids have worked on. And I think when we're able to model that as administrators and we're able to make it through those growing pains, we become more resilient, and sometimes that resiliency does need to start with our leaders.
We have a question for the audience for Kathy. Is the collaborative blog inside school district or open to parents and other people as well?
So we use Blogger for that, just to model one of the Google apps. So I am the one that has the access to posts. So on our blog, it's Lowell Eagles Learn Blogspot, and with that, anyone can email me the post and I post it. Right along there, it's open to comment and open to read publicly. So I link it on my principal website, and then when we have updated stories, I share it out on our Twitter and Facebook too.
So you do have a kind of a speed bump. They can actively participate, but there is a little bit of a filter there before it goes public. Right.
So they email that to me. I don't edit for content. I just share it out and then give the person's connection to our school.
Well, Jaime, I'd love to hear. I know you talked earlier about, I think you said back in 2007, how your district began to dream about what schools should look like, and I'm kind of curious who led that process, who was involved in that process, and how long that process took, and what the kind of the next steps after that happened, and how that happened for you guys.
That actually answers the question: what was put in place. And what was put in place was this vision of what a kid would look like after 13 years in our system. And so when we put the focus on what the kid needs versus on the content, the curriculum, the devices, when we started designing things to truly meet the kids at their level and give them what they needed, that drives everything else. And it makes decisions very simple when you've got that end product in mind, and when everything that you do, from expenditures to the systems that you put in place to communications, are all revolving around the development of the child. It makes things a lot easier. So what happened was we took representatives from all the stakeholder groups, community members, city council, classified staff, parents, learners, certificated staff, administrators, and there was close to 200 people, and we got in small groups and just started dreaming on what a kid would look like when they were done with our school system. And there was no consideration to cost or to other things that might be challenges. We just dreamt, and we dreamt big. And once we were able, over a series of meetings, to really define what that was we wanted a kid to look like, then we started creating the systems, and then we started making the purchases and the expenditures, then we started hiring staff, then we started providing feedback to staff, then we started providing professional development to staff based on what it was going to take to develop that kid. And so the strategic design is the thing that keeps us moving in the direction of serving kids and giving kids what they need, and doing the things that they are going to need to develop versus what's convenient. So that means differentiated professional development. That means one-to-one devices. That means personalized instruction. That means creating a learner-centered environment. That means getting all the stakeholder voice and input and ensuring that there's a feedback loop that allows for that. And so that means a lot of the things that we're trying to do. But when we talk about what was put in place to transform the overall culture, it was the vision and the belief of what our kids deserve, and that's our strategic design. So everything is gauged or measured or compared to this, and if it fits, we do it, we try it, and if it doesn't, it may be a good program, it may be good work, but it's not the right work for us. I hope that answers that question.
Very well. Another audience question from Joe Keys out there in TV land. So many important 21st century traits for students, such as the 4 C's, empathy, initiative. Do you guys have some ideas on measuring that? Do you have some ways of looking at the 4 C's, empathy, some of those intangibles, or what we like to call soft skills?
We did some real explicit teaching last year. We had, going back to that kind of teacher-centered professional learning, we had our counselor, myself, a Spanish teacher, looked at if we explicitly taught kindness to students, would it make a difference in our school? And so we really focus on that all year long. Each grade level is the Kind Kids Club and does random acts of kindness for others, and also for different grade levels. We've got like this particular month, we've got 5th grade gathering supplies for October. And we, at the end of the year, actually had all of the students in our school from kindergarten through 5th grade complete a Google form, and we really wanted to measure if they knew what kindness was, and 100% of our students did actually, know what kindness was at the end of the year. This year, our overall school goal is health and happiness, and it's been pretty interesting. We've got physical fitness starting every day. And our discipline, practically non-existent. The kids love it. I get to see kids smiling. They're happy. They run to get to school. So I definitely think focusing on all of those social emotional pieces are super crucial to kids learning and any kind of academics.
Great. Should we move on to the second big question, which is, what have you, when you were superintendent or principal or the educational leader, what do you do on an ongoing basis to support staff in this future-ready mindset? Or what causes your teacher to embrace change on a daily basis? What does that look like in your schools and districts?
I can jump in. We have a hashtag we tell kids and parents, and that's embrace the mess. And I think as a school leader, as teachers, we're modeling for everybody, kids and parents, that we are all learners, and just really being, modeling. I didn't know a lot about Google Classroom, using that this year to communicate with my teachers because they're learning to use that tool with their students. And so I think the most important thing we can do as school leaders is model that willingness to try. Have no idea how to do. I love the quote that says, "Do something that scares you every day." I think if we adopt that mindset as leaders, our teachers just try tons of things and have modeling that mindset is a really big piece.
One of the things, if I could jump in, one of the things that we do in Lindsay Unified School District is we insist on keeping the student voice alive every day. And more often than not, if we listen to the student voice, it gives us the cues and the ideas and the direction that we need to continue to meet them at their level, to meet them most effectively in their needs. And so when kids own their learning and drive their learning, they are more than willing to hold staff, administrators, teachers, everybody accountable to making sure that their needs are being met each day. So the biggest thing we do is keep student voice alive, and then we support the heck out of our staff to give them the tools that they need. And then also we allow them to take some chances, and we really have an environment where risk is encouraged and it's okay. And we know that mistakes are inherent in the learning process. And then the last thing is that we're always willing to check and adjust. We operate from the belief that you're never really done. You know, when you try to carry out an initiative, there's a beginning, there's a middle point, there's an end, and then you assess whether it worked or not. When you operate daily on a set of beliefs on how people learn and what motivates them, you're never done. So it's this continuum of improvement, and it's this continuum of risk-taking and checking and adjusting, but it's all driven by the student voice. And as long as we can keep student voice alive, we as adults have all the answers that we need to adjust our system accordingly.
So how does student voice look at the high school level, Jaime? I mean, you were principal at the high school. How do you get high school teachers to really recognize the student voice? What did that look like on that campus?
Yeah, so there was a series of professional development that gave them the skills that they needed to kind of give the gradual release of control. We know how hard that is for teachers in general, particularly high school teachers. They want to be up talking, and so there was a series of professional development sessions that gave them some of the tools and strategies for that gradual release of control. And so originally, not only did we have to teach teachers how to give up that control, we had to teach students how to effectively utilize their voice. And it all had to be tempered and measured on our strategic design. So it wasn't just this free-for-all. Here's your voice to get us closer to this. Here's your voice to get you truly ready for your preferred future. And so it was a series of training that we had to provide for our teachers, and it was also it took some time. It was an evolution in really teaching kids how to exercise their voice, because for so many years they were trained in the sit and get model. And so it was an evolution of teaching both teachers and kids how to exercise that voice. And now the culture at the high school is, if there's a problem, they'll go straight to the adult that oversees that area, and we start a conversation. And it's a very fluid process now, but it took a lot of training and a lot of patience early on.
And so, did you have the kids submit large petitions to have their voice heard, Jaime? That's an old joke there.
Yeah.
Hey, we have another quick one from the audience, from the inimitable Ray Fearing. Jaime and the others on the panel, do you have questions to use in interviews to help select teachers that are future ready? Or do you have that question that makes you go, okay, this teacher gets it, or is it a process? What's that look like?
I like to ask teacher candidates, if I walked into your classroom, what would I see, hear, and feel? And that, I feel, gives me a really good look at what the classroom happenings might be along the way, and how comfortable they are with answering like authentically versus giving me a right answer. So, if I'm hearing things like kids, you might have to look around to find me. The children are talking. The children are in groups. They're doing different things. They're in different places. Like, I like to hear a teacher who is confident in having a variety of things happening in their classroom.
We did a real big revamp of our interview process last year, talking with Kathy and John, some other administrators, looking for that 21st century. One of the questions that we asked that really separated our was, if you could create an elective about anything you wanted, what would it be? And we could really tell right away, one, if they were open to doing something different, and two, we could really find out if they were passionate, what they were passionate about. That was a question that we really loved the answers, and we learned a lot about the individuals. The other thing we did really wasn't so much a question. I got this idea from Jason Markey. We shared it, having student-led tours around the campus prior to the face-to-face interview. So we had a 4th and 5th grade student tour our candidates around, quick 20 minutes, and just ask them what they noticed. And, it was really interesting to see if they could pick up on the things that were important to us in our school. Noticing kids on the floor and being engaged and up and around and busy, trying to find the teacher, and just really, I think they could also see if the school was a fit for them. So those were 2 changes we made in our interview process.
I'll back you up on that, Jen. We did that at Minaret sort of by accident. One time, Niehoff and I we were backed up on interview candidates, so we just said, quick, get some tours together. But what we found out was, when you have a campus that feels different, when it's not just kids being quiet and not just kids in rows, when you have kids doing really cool projects and interacting with adults, that will freak some of your candidates out, and it'll make other ones come in and say, I have to work here. Yes. I have got to work here. So I think that tour thing it's an easy one, and we didn't even send adults with the kids. We would just say, take this teacher, they want to apply here, take them and show them what we do. And there was a definite group that was not comfortable with that, and that saved us a lot of time probably in the long run.
And I think having a school digital presence is super important. My most recent 4th grade teacher was hired from Illinois, and she picked us because she said, I saw Twitter, I saw blogs, I saw Remind on your school website. That's things that I wanted to do. And so, she came out here from Illinois. So having a school presence out there is important also.
I wanted to go back to what several of you just said. So one way to give students a voice is to allow them to be part of the hiring process of teachers by giving future teachers or administrators tours on your campus. And I can speak from many times where I've visited campuses, and when students are doing the tour, you get a much more realistic view of what the school's like, and really enjoyed that. So I think that's a great example. So that kind of leads into our last big question here is, so what do you see as the characteristics of future-ready teachers and administrators? What are some of those characteristics that you look for in people you're going to hire?
In Portola Valley, one of the things I've tried to do is shift the emphasis on knowledge to attitude. We hire for attitude, and because we can teach content knowledge in some respects. In an elementary grade classroom, I'm looking for attitude. I'm looking for willingness to take risks. What we try to do as much as possible is go to the sites of the individuals that we're considering to see them in their own element. We used to have them come in and teach in our environment, but it sort of felt a little contrived. But really seeing what they can do in their own classrooms where they're comfortable with students, we're able to see the risk-taking. We're able to see the resourceful, creative ways that they set up their classrooms. And then we're able to really identify some of the characteristics that both Jennifer and Kathy mentioned about, what happens when you walk in a teacher's classroom. Are they on the floor? Can you find them? Is it loud? Is it crazy?
Lisa, as you were talking, I was thinking about the whole mindset versus skill set and how that mindset is so important, and being willing to be uncomfortable, being comfortable being uncomfortable, and engaging in the two-way conversations with as big of a stakeholder group as you can, I think is something that will serve you well when you're really ready to listen to parents, to listen to teachers, to listen to students, and to respond so they know that feedback is valued, because I think as much as we talk about moving forward, we can move forward a lot faster when we do so together.
A couple of things that come to my mind is, a firm vision and belief. There's some things that Lindsay Unified believes in terms of how kids learn, how people learn, what motivates people. And so to be an administrator in this district, to be a teacher in this district, you have to have a firm vision and a belief, because when things get challenging, as they often do, what's the thing you're going to hang your hat on? So I want somebody who has a firm belief in how people learn and what motivates them, and that all kids can learn, and they deserve our best shot every day. Another thing is you have to be a collaborator, and you have to be somebody who values the stakeholder voice. I've heard so many times people talk about buy-in, and so they want to go through these exercises of collaboration to get people to buy in so that we're all on the same page. No, I want to get people's voice, because these decisions are way too important for me to screw it up. So I've got to ask the people that it affects most. So to work in this district, you need to be somebody who truly values stakeholder voice. The other thing is you've got to be a problem solver. And so when a challenge is presented, there's one group of people that will say why it can't happen. We need the people that will say how we're going to make it happen. And so that is a mindset. That's a belief system. And so to be in this district, you've got to be somebody that figures out how we're going to do it instead of automatically defaulting to why it can't work. And so those are some of the characteristics of, in my opinion, of a future-ready staff member.
And I want to plus one that, Jaime. I've worked in quite a few districts, and it seems like there's always somebody who's the self-appointed no person. And I read a great quote in a business management book one time that said, there are no statues erected to people who said it could not be done.
Amen.
So that's the bottom line. We have to make it work. These are human children we're dealing with. It has to work.
So I can tell we could go on for another half hour here talking about this, but we only have about 3 more minutes. And so I want to give each of the panel members an opportunity to share their final comments or thoughts about anything that came up. And John, you're first on the list. Any final thoughts from you? And then we'll go from there to Jennifer, then Lisa, then Kathy, then Jaime, and I'll close it up at the end.
My final thought is, and this is the cool thing about technology in the background, people could all work in district and it would be awesome, and yet they're spread all over hither and yon, and they are able to present really fabulous ideas, roll with them, see the beauty in the other's ideas, and I think that it's really nice to see that people are connecting and connected through technology like this, but that's not the driver of the conversation. It's just the facilitator. And so I would just take my hat off to all 4 of our guests today, because you guys are doing things that other districts wish they could do. You're actually doing them. And thanks so much for sharing with us tonight and spending some time out of your busy schedule to share this.
Gosh, my last word, I think the more we keep kids at the center of every decision we make as leaders, as teachers, as educators, I think we're going to make the right one. And I'm going to quote Joe Sanfilippo, something he said last weekend. Mm-hmm. We want to make school go from when parents ask kids, what did you do today? Instead of them saying, I don't know, we want them to say, I don't know where to start. And that happens when we make school awesome for kids. So let's do that every day. Come on, people.
Woo!
Woo!
Lisa?
You know, at times, I think our profession can be a really lonely one, whether you're a superintendent or whether you're a principal, and I think it is so critically important as a future-ready leader to have those networks of individuals that you can tap into, whether it's via Twitter, whether it's webinars that you're doing on a regular basis, whether it's Twitter chats, or whether it's picking up the old-fashioned phone or going to somebody's office to say, I don't know how to do this, and working through these issues with one another. I think that's what builds leadership, and I think that that's something that we need to continue to focus on to make sure that we're ready for the leading and our teachers are prepared as well.
Great. Kathy?
I think that we have the power to be the chief storyteller and celebrator and connector in school communities, and that is just so important to bring people along and bring people together. And again, going back to what Jennifer said, really keeping that focus on what's best for kids. So I would say don't ever waste an opportunity to share the good things that are happening in your school and to ask for help when you need it.
Jaime?
Yes, sir. I think that closing thought would be that as you move forward in trying to serve kids, I would encourage everybody to really be firm in what they believe, and just let the decisions and your actions be driven by what you believe about how kids learn and what motivates them and what they deserve each day. And when you hit roadblocks, when you have challenges, if you have a firm grasp of what it is you believe, you're able to work through that. And it's when we don't have a firm picture of where we're trying to go that we get off track and we deviate, and sometimes we do it without even knowing. But the firmer we are in our belief system about kids, how they learn and what motivates them, the easier it is to stay on track and the easier it is to know when we're getting closer to the goal.
Excellent. And I guess I just want to echo the common theme I heard throughout this presentation by all of you was the importance of voice and sharing your stories. And we don't have enough ways that people share their stories out there. And so I just want to encourage all of you to keep doing what you talked about here and to share those stories in a variety of different ways at conferences, on your blogs, and keep thinking about ways to do that, because they're such excellent examples of what it means to be future ready now. So again, I'll echo what John Carripo said, and thank you for being here. I thank our viewing audience for being here, and thank you to the Connected Educator Month people for allowing us to share about Future Ready with everybody else. And John, I think that's a wrap.
I'm going to make my clapper. Right, cut. Thanks for being here, you guys, and we'll be sharing the link, and Rob has a resource link that he can share, and this will be going up to YouTube, so I'll be retweeting it. So if any of your friends missed out or you want to have your loved ones watch you on the video, that's possible.
Are you turning the live off now, John?
You want me to?
Yeah.
Okay.